It wasn't supposed to be scary. I was just going to fetch water from the stream like I do every night. But that night was different. I never expected what happened next. The moon was shining brightly, and the village was quiet. I grabbed my clay pot and walked down the familiar path to the stream. It was peaceful, just like always. The sound of the flowing water, the gentle breeze, and the croaking frogs made the night feel calm. But then, I heard something strange. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but then I heard it again, a loud, deep roar. It didn't sound like any animal I had ever heard. My heart started to race. I looked around, but there was nothing. The trees swayed, and the shadows seemed to move, but I saw nothing strange. I tried to shake it off and continued walking to the stream. Maybe it was just my imagination. When I reached the water, I bent down to fill my pot. That's when I heard it again, this time much closer. The ground beneath me seemed to shake, and a chill ran down my spine. I looked up, and that's when I saw it. Two glowing eyes stared at me from across the stream. They were huge, bright orange, and they didn't blink. My stomach dropped. I stood frozen, unable to move. The eyes were getting closer, and then I saw the rest of it. A long, scaly neck rose out of the shadows. The creature was massive, its body covered in thick scales. It had wings like a bird, but much bigger, and they stretched wide, almost blocking the moonlight. I could feel my legs shaking. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. The dragon, yes, it was a dragon, was right there, watching me. The air felt heavy, and I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to do. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the dragon let out a loud snort and turned away. It spread its wings and flew into the sky, leaving me standing there, scared and confused. I never imagined I would see a dragon that night. The stream was always quiet at night. But that night, it felt different. The trees seemed to whisper, like they were talking to each other. It wasn't a loud sound, more like a soft murmur, but it made me feel uneasy. As I walked closer to the water, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Usually, when I went to the stream, I could hear the frogs croaking and the soft sound of water flowing over the rocks. It was peaceful. But tonight, everything was too quiet. The frogs had stopped croaking, and there wasn't a sound from any of the animals. It was like the whole forest was holding its breath. I filled my pot with water, trying to ignore the strange feeling in my stomach. I looked around, hoping to see something familiar, but everything seemed different. The shadows were longer than usual, and the moonlight made the trees look like dark giants standing still. Then, I heard it. At first, it was just a soft rustling sound, like wind moving through the leaves. But the sound was too deep, too slow to be the wind. It was like someone, or something, was breathing. It was heavy and slow, almost like it was watching me. I froze. I couldn't move. The sound got louder, and I could feel my heart beating faster. My mind raced, trying to figure out what it was. Was it an animal? Or maybe it was just my imagination. I slowly turned my head, trying to see where the sound was coming from. That's when I saw the eyes. Two bright orange eyes shining from the darkness, staring straight at me. They weren't the eyes of any animal I knew. They were too big, too bright. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The breathing stopped for a moment. Then, slowly, I saw a huge shadow move across the water. My legs felt weak, and I couldn't stop staring at those glowing eyes. I knew, deep down, that whatever it wasn't something I could fight. I couldn't look away. The two glowing eyes were staring right at me, and I felt like they were burning into my soul. They were so bright, like orange fire, and they didn't blink. I wanted to run, but my feet felt like they were stuck in the ground. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought it might explode. The eyes didn't move. They just stared at me from across the stream. I couldn't see the rest of the creature, but I could feel it. I could feel its presence, like a heavy weight hanging in the air. Then, slowly, the eyes began to move toward me. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to scream, but my mouth was dry. I couldn't make a sound. The creature was coming closer, and the ground under my feet seemed to shake with every step it took. The trees around me rustled as if they were scared too. And then, I saw it. The massive shape of the creature appeared out of the darkness. It wasn't just the eyes, it was the whole thing. A long neck, covered in dark green scales, slowly rose up from the shadows. Its wings stretched wide, blocking out the moonlight. The creature was bigger than anything I had ever seen. It was huge, like a giant bird with the body of a snake. I took a step back, but I couldn't move fast enough. The creature's head was now above the water, and it was closer than I had ever imagined. Its eyes were still locked onto mine, and I could see the sharpness of its teeth. My legs were shaking, and I felt like I was going to fall over. The dragon's breath was hot, and the air around me smelled like smoke and something I couldn't quite place. It didn't make any noise. It just stared at me, its wings spread wide, casting a shadow over the whole stream. For a moment, I thought it might attack. But then, it snorted and turned its head toward the sky, as if it had decided I wasn't worth the trouble. I stood there, frozen, as the dragon's giant wings flapped and it soared into the night sky. I didn't know what had just happened, but I knew one thing: I'd never forget the eyes that burned like fire. The dragon was gone, but the smell stayed. It was a thick, burning smell, like smoke from a fire. I took a deep breath, but it only made my stomach turn. I looked around, trying to see if anything had caught on fire, but there was nothing. The trees were still, the water was calm, and the only sound was my racing heart. I could still feel the heat of the dragon's breath in the air. It was like the whole forest had been touched by something huge and powerful. The smell of smoke mixed with something sharp, like metal. It made my eyes water. I knew I had to get back to the village, but I didn't know how to move my legs. It was like they were glued to the ground. The dragon's wings had made such a strong wind when it flew away. I could still feel the breeze on my face, cool but strange, like it carried the weight of something old and mysterious. The shadow of its wings had blocked out the moon, and now the sky seemed brighter, calmer. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I wanted to tell someone. I wanted to run back to the village and shout that I had seen a dragon, but I couldn't make my mouth work. What if no one believed me? What if they said I was just dreaming or imagining things? I couldn't take that chance. I had to make sure I was right before I said anything. I looked one last time at the stream. It was the same as always, quiet, peaceful, with the moonlight dancing on the water. But I knew now that something had changed. I wasn't just scared of the dragon anymore. I was scared of what it meant. What if it came back? What if it was angry? I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't stay here alone. With shaky hands, I finally turned around and started walking back to the village, my feet dragging in the dirt. The smell of smoke still hung in the air, and the weight of what had happened pressed down on me with every step. I was almost back to the village when I heard the drum. It was loud and clear, beating fast like an urgent call. I froze in place. The drum was used for emergencies, when something serious was happening. My heart skipped a beat. Was it the dragon? Was it coming back? The sound of the drum echoed through the forest, and I could feel my knees shaking. I had to move, I had to get back to the village. I couldn't face the dragon again, not alone, not like this. But the drum kept beating, and I had no choice. I had to go. I ran as fast as I could, my feet slapping against the dirt path. The moon was high in the sky now, lighting the way, but I didn't care. All I could think about was getting to the village. I didn't want to be out in the open, especially with the dragon still fresh in my mind. What if it was still nearby, watching me? The wind picked up, and I heard a rustling in the trees, but I didn't stop. The sound of the drum grew louder and louder as I got closer to the village. My breath came in short gasps, and I could feel the sweat on my forehead. Then, just as I turned the corner into the village, I felt it. A huge gust of wind rushed past me, knocking me off balance. I stumbled, almost falling, but I caught myself. I looked up, and that's when I saw it, the dragon. It was flying above the village, its massive wings flapping so hard that the wind nearly knocked me over. The air smelled like smoke again, and I could feel the ground shake with every flap of its wings. It was huge, bigger than I had ever imagined. But it wasn't coming for me. It was flying away, heading toward the mountains. I stood there, watching it disappear into the night sky. My heart was still racing, but the fear felt different now. The dragon wasn't after me. It was leaving. I didn't know why, but I was glad it was gone. I turned and ran the rest of the way to the village, finally feeling safe again. When I got to the village, everyone was outside. The drum had stopped, but the people were still talking loudly. Some looked worried, others seemed curious. I could hear bits of their conversation as I walked closer. "Did you hear that sound?" one person asked. "Something strange in the forest," another person said. I didn't want to tell anyone what had happened. What if they didn't believe me? What if they thought I was just making it up? But then, I saw Bobaton, the oldest and wisest man in the village. He was standing by the fire, looking serious. He noticed me and waved me over. "You're back," he said calmly. "What did you see?" I opened my mouth, but the words didn't come out. I was still shaking from what I had seen. How could I explain it? How could I tell them about the dragon without sounding crazy? But Bobaton didn't wait for me to speak. He just nodded and said, "It's okay. You don't have to tell me everything just yet. But you're not the only one who has seen it." I stared at him, surprised. "What do you mean?" Bobaton's face grew serious. "The dragon has been seen before. Long ago, in the time of our grandparents, it appeared. It's not something we talk about much, but it's real. The dragon protects the stream and the forest." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had thought I was the only one who had seen it, but Bobaton wasn't surprised. He knew about the dragon. He explained that the dragon had always lived in the forest, but it only showed itself when something was wrong. The villagers had forgotten to care for the forest and the stream, and now the dragon was angry. It had come to warn us. "You were lucky, child," Bobaton said. "Next time, it might not leave so easily." That's when I realized that the dragon wasn't just a monster. It was a guardian, watching over us and the land. The village had to change, or we would face the dragon's anger again. The next morning, the village gathered by the stream. Bobaton stood in front of everyone, his face serious but calm. "We have work to do," he said, his voice strong. "The dragon has warned us, and we must listen." I was standing near the back, listening carefully. I couldn't believe it. The dragon wasn't just an angry creature, it was a guardian, watching over us. Bobaton explained that the dragon came to protect the land, but it had been hurt by the way the village had treated the forest. We had been careless, cutting down trees, throwing trash in the stream, and not respecting the land. "The dragon has been watching us," Bobaton said. "It is angry, and if we don't fix what we've done, it will return." The villagers looked worried. Some of them whispered to each other. They didn't want the dragon to come back. I didn't blame them. The dragon had been huge and scary, but I also understood now that it wasn't just attacking for no reason. It was trying to protect the forest and the stream. "We must take care of the land," Bobaton continued. We will clean the stream, plant trees, and show the dragon that we care. Everyone nodded, agreeing to help. The older men and women went to the stream with baskets, collecting the trash that had piled up. The younger ones, like me, started digging holes to plant new trees along the riverbank. It wasn't easy, but everyone worked together, helping each other. By the end of the day, the stream looked cleaner. The trees were planted, and the village felt different. We had shown that we cared for the land, and I felt proud. Bobaton smiled as he walked by me. The dragon will see what we've done, he said. And hopefully, it will stay away. I didn't know if the dragon would come back. But I felt a little better knowing that we had done our part. The village was changing, and so were we. Maybe, just maybe, the dragon would trust us again.